the chair of the Presidential Task Force on the payroll cleanup, the Honorable Dale Francis Rare, a very strong member of the team, Civil Service Director General Designate, the Honorable James Thompson. Unfortunately, the Honorable Tia Dangbe, who is a member of this team, would not be in this afternoon. I called him. He sent an excuse because of late information. He is without in spirit, and other senior staff, including the Deputy Director General of Administration of IAA, Mr. Clarence William, here to grace this occasion. Welcome, members of the full estate. And also, let me officially welcome the Miss Tracy 2019-2020 at the IAA. We don't understand why the Director General of the Liberia News Agency brought this beautiful lady to this press conference today, but I think it's to promote Tracy in Liberia. So you're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So, ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, in our quest to provide reasonable assurance in the management of personnel services and enhance government objective of maintaining public financial probity, we have the singular honor of informing you that the Internal Audit Agency of Liberia has concluded a final phase of the payroll verification exercise covering the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the Justice Sector. The Justice Sector includes the Liberia National Police, the Liberia Immigration Service, the Liberia Drugs Enforcement Agency, and the Liberia National Fire Service. This exercise achieved the cleaning of 792 ghost names for the national payroll. 792 names were identified on those payroll as ghosts, thereby saving the dollar value for those names that we have identified as ghosts on the payroll is summed up to $173,833,364 Liberian dollars. That's annually. In a scenario of 5 years, you can do the math. Probably will give out around 869,166,820. We can probably intimate that the payroll verification exercise was very successful, as it authenticated the actual number of employees that are legitimately working under the acronym government institutions across the country, which was the ultimate goal of this exercise. Ladies and gentlemen, while the exercise was extremely hectic, painstaking, time-consuming, considering the challenges of the deplorable rule conditions, auditors were simultaneously across the 15 counties amidst the COVID-19 and the difficult rule condition to access those counties. Our auditors braved the challenges and covered all the areas of assignment provided in the auditees with the goal of physically verifying individual considered employed under the entity named above. We'd like to clearly indicate that this final phase is a result of previous verification conducted nationwide under the 2018-2019 payroll verification exercise. The previous exercise produced a significant number of unverified personnel, some of whom did not show up for the exercise. Others are deceived, retired, dismissed, or had resigned, but still remain on the payroll. In order to provide reasonable assurance that said unverified individuals are either legitimate or non-existent, we had to initiate phase 2 of the exercise, which we have concluded, with recommendations further for action. It is crucially relevant to mention that aside from the deletion of those ghost names for government's payroll, we have further recommended, among other things, the conduct of a forensic investigation to trace the source of recipients of the salary for those non-existing employees. We want to use this medium to reassure the President, His Excellency President Dr. George M. Weah, and the good people of Liberia of our renewed commitment to upholding our statutory mandate of promoting, propagating, and ensuring that common internal audit standards and systems in keeping with best practices are established and maintained across government institutions. I give this background. I will briefly just read a few numbers for you because we'll also save a copy of this press statement. So for the Ministry of Internal Affairs, we have 513 names that we are recommended for deletion. For the Liberian Immigration Service, we have 128 names. For the Liberian National Police, we have 126. For the Ministry of Justice, we have 10. And Drugs Enforcement Agency, 15, which make a number out to 792 names. And we just gave you the associated value. The task force, as you may be aware, was constituted some months back by the President to clean the government payroll of people who don't work but receive government salary every month. The task force work is in full swing. We were a little bit held back because of COVID-19. The chairman will briefly lament on that and the next course of action. This process was in full before the constitution of the task force. But we are convinced that with the task force coming into place, this is just 2 institutions. We talk about saving more than almost 800 names for the payroll. If the task force do the entire country, we can assure you this government can save enough money to even start to increase salary. As indicated by the Minister of Finance a few months back, that we're doing the salary harmonization thereafter. As the economy improves, start to increase salary. So the process of improving the economy start with removing unwanted names from the payroll. And this is the first step we started today. Thank you so much. I will now give the floor to the chair of the Special Presidential Task Force on the payroll cleanup process, the Honorable Dan Francis Ray, who will further comment on the task force activity.
Thank you, Co-Chair. The Director General of the CSA, Designate, our professional colleagues in the Internal Audit Agency, member of the press. Let me say thank you for coming to this all-important press conference. Today marks another event of the Interagency Payroll Cleanup Task Force constituted by the President. A few weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, our team honored the activity of the National Identification Registry at the Ministerial Complex, held a one-day workshop on the importance of the National Identification Card number, which is also part of the effort for us to clean the payroll. Today, we are very excited to have another activity through our sister entity, which is also part of the task force, the Internal Audit Agency. This time around, coming up with a report on the physical verification of government employees covering the Ministry of Internal Affairs and the Ministry of Justice system, including the police, the immigration, the DEA, and also Justice Central. We want to thank the staff that carry out the physical verification. We understand the difficult condition of the roles, and we also understand the difficult condition under which they work, because they were all exposed, during this critical period of the corona pandemic. Having said that, this report says a lot about things that happen in the payroll, and also suggests why we need to periodically carry out these kind of exercises to clean the payroll and generate the necessary income or savings to improve the payroll or the salaries of employees that are earnestly working but earning very low. So this is part of several steps that the task force will be taking. As we speak, this exercise just completed by the IAA represents government entities is in foresight. What that means, within the coming weeks, the task force under the supervision of the Internal Audit Agency will go to every government ministry and agency and carry out physical head count of all the employees of government, leveraging or utilizing the biometric ID cards of all those employees issued by the National Identification Registry. With that, we will put name, we will put physical person to the ID card that they bear. And once that is done, the findings of the report in terms of people who don't exist and people who actually exist will be recorded, and those who don't exist will be taken off the payroll as part of the effort to clean the payroll. So this is just the beginning of several exercises that the government, under the task force is going to carry out. Let me also say that as we are cleaning the payroll, there are also other things that the task force is engaged into. We are also, as part of the task force work, improving the digitization of the payroll system across the government. The essence of digitizing the payroll is to eliminate waste, and is to also make sure that civil servants or government employees who are working legitimately and honestly get their pay on time and also get their fair pay as is provided for under the appropriation. So this is part of the way we try to improve the payroll. Secondly, as part of the improvement or part of the digitization, as a matter of the next few weeks, the government, through the task force, will also be issuing electronic pay slips to employees of government who have, for people with electronic emails. And for people who don't have electronic emails, they will have to pick up the hard copy of their pay slip from their HR. The essence of that particular exercise is to make sure that when you receive your text message from the bank as your pay deposit, you compare the figure in that text message with the figure on the pay slip. And if there are issues, you report the issue for correction. Consistent with that strategy, there's going to be a new process or layer added to the payroll as part of our strategic engagement with the IAA and other stakeholders within the National Task Force. That next layer is post-audit of the payroll. The post-audit feature of the payroll is to ensure that if John Brown is paid $50 or $200, and it goes to John Brown account at EcoBank or LBA or UBA, we want to make sure that $50 actually enter John Brown's account. That layer is going to ensure that the beneficiary of the pay, who also in exchange gave their earnest labor to the government, receive the fair share of the labor they supply to the government. So that post verification it's very important to provide satisfaction to employees of government. So as we speak, as we are saying this, we encourage all employees across the government with email addresses, telephone numbers to supply to their HR. Someone will ask, why didn't the HR give all of those information? Yes, they gave some and they didn't give some. So we are asking, and over time people have changed their numbers and have also changed their email addresses. So we are asking the employee to give all those information so they can receive their pay slip and compare what the government is paying them with what they receive in their bank account and also what they receive on their mobile money account. So that being said, let's pray that the work of the task force is enhanced. Let's provide the full cooperation as civil servants, because you as civil servant can get sufficient information more than members of the task force. The information you share about things that go on in the entity regarding HR issue or payroll issue can be that thing that help to clean your agency payroll and also help to increase your payroll as a civil servant who is currently earning low below the pay that you're supposed to make. Having said that, we are very grateful to the IAA for the work on internal affairs, and let me just share that on the internal affairs issue. We thank the IAA for the work, and from the IAA reports, you see that internal affairs, in terms of the number of people we're supposed to take off the payroll, they are about 513. So what that means are two things happening. There were people in low position that's supposed to be working that were not working, but there were also people who were in low position to replace those people that's supposed to work. So you have this the concept of the man is helping. So help us across the length and breadth of this country, especially on our internal affairs, who's supposed to replace some of the people that die, and having replaced them successfully because the dead people stay on the payroll, they can today celebrate because we're going to go through the late thoroughly and make sure that those that were actually working in opposition for the dead people cannot easily come onto the payroll through the vetting process that will be carried out by the listing we get from the internal audit agency, along with what we work with the Ministry of Internal Affairs. So this is the time for the helpers who have been working over the months and having entered the payroll, for them to actually transition to the payroll on their own merit, in their own name, to get their own pay. The co-chairs stressed a very important point, and let me re-echo it. Those accounts that were receiving the money, if the account is a ghost account and the government kept putting money into the account for 1 year, 2 years, the safer thing we can say is that the money is in no account. So the task force will engage with the relevant entities of government to see how those money can be recouped from the commercial bank where they are held and given back to the government, because those people didn't work. And if they didn't work, we put money into the account, it means the money should be there for us to take it out. And if anybody took it out, the person that took it out should just start bringing some of the money back, because payroll fraud is crime. And for us to change the system and improve the pay for the ordinary civil servants, we have to take some of the tough decisions and make sure people restitute, especially if they took fraudulently. Thank you, and God bless Liberia, and thank members of the task force.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We also have with us the Director General of the Civil Service Agency, the Honorable Thompson. He had a chair saying why the auditors were in the fee. They also identified people that claim or was identified to be serving someone in a position where people have died. Like the Ministry of Internal Affairs, we've established that 136 people have died. The names stay on the payroll. It has 63 have abandoned, and there were 307 no-show, 2 dismissed, 3 retired, and 2 resigned. But in some cases, people are serving a position. So if at one point of several occasions, our auditor will have hostage that they can account for those who've been serving opposition. We said, no, hey, we didn't come here to recruit. We can remove names of people who don't work for the government but taking salary. But we managed to collect the names of people that were identified as occupying some of those positions. So we will file the names to the civil service agency because they understand the vetting process. They know the qualification for some of the position. They know it, we don't know it. But we took the names and appropriate time when they reach the point of replacing people on the position, they will use the appropriate mechanism. Mr. Thomason, you want to comment?
Yeah, well, I think you guys have said quite a lot. Introduce myself? Okay, yeah, so I'm James Thompson, Acting Director General of the Civil Service Agency and Director General Designate. So the CSA, as you will know, is an integral part of the task force. We work extremely closely together, you know, to all of what we're doing to clean the government payroll. You know, in the past, I think people thought it was an impossible thing to do. And in some instances, they depended on the little sporadic visits, you know, we'll make to the counters and try and count those or see those who work for the government. Now, we'll probably just let everybody know that this effort is going to continue, is unending. I think the other day when we went to the legislature, a senator asked me how long is this going to last, and I told him it's not going to stop. You know, we're going to continuously do it, but we have other mechanisms for doing what we're trying to do. For instance, I think they almost have mentioned that we're using national IDs now as the means of identifying people. One of the things that does is it ensures that there will be no duplicates on the payroll, because no one ID number can serve in two positions. And so once we get that in, I think this August we're implementing the no national ID, no pay. If you don't have a national ID number in our payroll system, you're not getting paid this month. We've put that off too many times. We're implementing that now. So, and there are reasons why some people haven't shown up with national IDs. But it will be up to them to, and we have a rigorous process for reinstating you if we took you off on the basis of the lack of national ID. So, I just like to say that exercise will continue, but beyond removing people from the payroll, if you read the recommendations of the IAA, we are also suggesting that those who benefited from the fraud need to face the law. So it's not just anymore taking people off the payroll, because you see, one of the things we need to understand, the payroll constitutes more than half of our budget, our revenue. So if you want to know what corruption is, you probably need to look around the payroll, because that's where most of the money is. And so we're doing everything we can to make sure that we can clean the payroll and save as much money as we can for the government. On one exercise, you see the numbers that he's reading already, and how much the government is going to benefit from that. Political will from the president, the minister of finance, and all the senior officials of government who are, you know, responsible for all of this. You know, they've given us their unflinching support to do what we're doing. And if people think it's a joke, they need to just watch the results that will come. So, I mean, probably part of the reason why this didn't happen in the past was because, you know, people didn't have the, but we have more than the will and commitment we need to get this done, and that's why we're doing it. And the IA is not finished. I think what you read was just a few entities, right? You know that there are many, many more entities of government. We have over 100 entities of government that are on our payroll, and the IAA is going to work in this payroll cleanup task force to chase everybody down and make sure that we have a clean payroll. In fact, we're saying that by the end of the next fiscal year, we'll be able to dance around the payroll we have, because we'll be sure that our payroll is authentic, is clean, and is, you know, void of, you know, fraudulent activities. I mean, because we're going to stay. It's going to be here, it's going to chase people down, and we'll make sure we have, you know, we have on the payroll only those who deserve to be there. And so I just, you know, want to thank the IA in a particular way for the effort. I know people people challenge the IAA in all kinds of different ways, but it's the mandate of the IAA. We trust the work that they do, and when they make recommendations to us, we are under obligation to implement it. If the IAA say we didn't find these people and we can't account for them, you need to block them, we'll block them. Let the arguments come later. So those who are not satisfied will go and have the conversation with the IAA and say, no, what you did was a mistake. And if they can reconcile that and they come back to us and say, oh, it was an error, reinstate you, but follow their recommendation. And that's the essence of the partnership that we've created around, managing the payroll. We're managing the payroll, we're managing the wage bill, and all of these are part of the effort, and we'll continue to do them. So there will be many more press conferences of this nature, so just get ready. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. So, in the same vein, now, let me just inform you that the reason we said the final verification because we went in the field before. The first time we came from the field with the Ministry of Internal Affairs and other agencies mentioned here, we placed a hold on the names of those who did not see that time, and that we agree with the ministry, even though the ministry says some of them exist. So we went back for the second time and the final time, and some of these people we saw them, so they'll be restored on the payroll. So there are about a little over 150 names that is on hold currently will be restored. So if you're in that category, you don't have to come here. When we met you, we verify you. In the second verification, your name will be restored. So let us make that clear. But the 513 names that is distributed over deceived, abandoned, no-show, dismissed, retired, resigned, the Ministry of Finance, the department headed by the Honorable Dan Francis, who is also chair of this task force, will take appropriate action to remedy, to make sure that only legitimate employees need that on the payroll. Thank you so much for coming, and please, as the Director General of the Civil Service Agency said, we'll call you a lot of time. Get ready. It's going to be a consistent issue. Before the next budget year, we are very sure we'll present to the Liberian people a clean payroll for the government. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Hello. So let's manage it. We will not be here too long. So we'll just take a few questions, particularly on the subjects that have been addressed, and then we'll move on. Yes, sir.
Sir. What do you say to a viewer who's asking whether these 792 names suggesting that you publish them?
Yes, I mean, that's public document, obviously. That processes we're going to take right now. The 136 names that died, the 62 abandoned, the ministry is going to have them deleted immediately. The TD07, the ministry is working, the task force here is working with the Ministry of Internal Affairs, because that one argument that came, this person name on the payroll for Grand Bazaar, but they're working in Grand Crew, even though the team went across the country at the same time. So the suggestion is fine. We can publish the names. Yes. The leader can help us to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be great. My name is Edwin Jinowi. I work for Front Page Africa. During your process of cleaning the payroll, did you also take into consideration extra names that the chairman of the CDC distributed among ministry and agency that were not considered on the payroll? That's the first question. The second question, what is the next action after these names have been identified?
To be honest, I don't know what is called extra name that was distributed by CDC chairman.
Party members of the CDC that was sent to.
So the answer to that question would be, if party members send somebody to the ministry to be employed, and that person is employed, they should be human being, right? They should not be ghosts.
Correct.
So if the party sends somebody to a ministry to be employed, and that person don't exist, who they name, they are ghosts. We're going to remove it from the payroll.
Yeah, and let me say, when the team is going in the field, they don't go with the intent of which one party member saying which one, they don't know. The team go with a clear mandate to look for employees of government. So the employees of government don't have different colors. So we go after employees of government, we look for employees of government, and based on the mandate, those who are physically available, the IAA check them, and those who are not available, the IAA uncheck them. Yeah. And that is the process.
Yeah, I'm even worried about the nature of that question. I don't even know what it means. employees distributed across the government by the chairman of the CDC. I don't think I know what it means, distributed across the government. You know, we have processes for bringing on people onto the payroll, and anybody can make a recommendation to an agency, but it depends, you know, how the agency handles that recommendation, you know, and if the chairman of the party sent a name to somebody, they're going to go through a recruitment process, whatever that means, and if they're part of the entity's staff, they're part of the entity's staff, and like he said, we're not checking employment process, we're checking the availability of people who are on our payroll, whether they exist and whether they are, you know, are legitimate employees of the entities that they say they work for.
This question to you, Honorable Thompson. We see so many times that many governments have come and tried to do this particular exercise, especially when it comes to cleaning, carrying out a forensic exercise in cleaning the payroll. What we're seeing here might be seen as historic, but you care to tell us, does it end here? And you talk about those who will be who benefited also will bear a portion of whatever punishment will be handed down. And I struggle with regards to the word benefit, because I could be one of those who committed the crime and my daughter could benefit from the proceeds. So I know you're not suggesting that my daughter will be punished. You care to comment on that?
Okay, but so one of the first points we'd like to make is that the reason why all of this is happening is because my colleagues can attest, nobody calls us from above and tell us what to do.
Good job.
So we have the complete trust of the president, we have political will and commitment to do this. We started a long time ago. People told us we couldn't do harmonization because, you know, they knew in the past there was no political commitment to that. We got it. We got a political commitment to do it. We did it, right? It's working. So we're doing this as well. And it's going to work. And we're going to continue to do it. It doesn't stop here. Like I said, we'll have many more press conferences to talk about payroll cleaning, because the payroll cleaning continues. It doesn't end. And yes, we're not accusing anybody. I'm not sure IAA in this report has accused anybody of fraud. But we're going to investigate. If somebody was dead and the pay was going to their account, Dell said we expect the money to be there, right? If it's not there, then we'll find out who took
Somebody
it.
took it.
And if somebody took it, they're going to tell us why they took it. And if they don't have the proper justification for taking it, then you know what that means, right?
Okay.
So that's basically it. And we're not stopping. We made our point.
Yes, my name is Ibrahim Sharif. I'm both for the Liberia News Agency. You talk about physical verification of employees of government. Are you taking into consideration some employees of government are outstationed? How do you hope to achieve this?
Okay, so the physical verification is nationwide. So for instance, if we went to the Ministry of Finance to do physical verification, the Ministry of Finance, we will have a listing of the Ministry of Finance. The Deputy Minister for Administration along with the HR will be informed far ahead of time. So those employees that are within Monrovia will convene at a particular location where we take the list, and we are very sure when they are coming, they will come with relevant documents, including the national identification card, their Ministry of Finance ID card, and so on. So that process will be there. You know, they give you in the army, they call it general muster. You have every soldier has to be accounted for to know what are the troops, you know, in type. So that's part of the exercise. So those staff that will be outstationed, the entity will tell us, these people are not assigned in Monrovia. They are assigned to our regional offices in Banga, in Lofa, and the rest of it. So then, the team that is in Banga will also have a list of Ministry of Finance or CSA employees that are assigned outstation for them to do the physical verification consistent with the requirements that we set. As we move forward, let me say to you, the payroll, the wage bill before the whole reform exercise started, was about $327 million at end of fiscal year 18-19 before harmonization. When we did harmonization, that payroll strength dropped from 327 million to 299 million at end of fiscal year 19-20. That's about 28 to 29 million savings. And the harmonization itself, besides saving money, increased the pay of 15,000 employees of government, the police, the immigration, the DEA, and teachers that were making below $100, and nurse and health workers. The harmonization process also took on the full payroll of the National Transit Authority that couldn't service a payroll because the bosses they inherited, the bosses were old and they could not make any money. So the harmonization did a lot in terms of saving money in the first year and also stabilizing the payroll. Now we don't have trouble about people taking pay. People are taking pay, periodically.
Right.
It wasn't for the harmonization, which was supported by the National the Standardization Act of 2019, which affected the legislature and also affected the judiciary. We wouldn't be talking about the stability of the payroll today. But we're still not resting there. We should be certified. The payroll came from 327 to 299. But we still not certified because there are a lot of things that need to happen on the payroll. So we have to clean the payroll. And consistent with the objective of cleaning the payroll through eliminating ghosts and double dippers or multiple dippers, and also cleaning retired people from the payroll. When you look in the draft budget for 2020-2021, the payroll that ended at 299, we expect it to end at 292 million. Additional 7 to 8 million reduction that is now being used to finance other development activity in the national budget. So as we clean the payroll, there are more things, more savings that we can do. So we have to support, the process.
And so for the record, let me commend the leadership at the Ministry of Internal Affairs. They were very cooperative. We planned this audit together with them because they are the process owner. You can't go audit the Ministry of Internal Affairs without them being involved. So the Deputy Minister was involved. He came over here. We did a plan together. We set the schedule out. Announcement on the radio, on on-mail radio, community radio stations across the country to inform, because the Ministry of Internal Affairs is kind of a little bit delicate institution to audit. Unlike the Ministry of Health or the Ministry of Education, where you go strictly to classroom or the health facility, you don't have offices across the country for permanent chief, client chief, so that you go to one county, they say the county carpenter, the county cook, you don't even know where to find them. So, but those are names that have been running the payroll for a very long time. If one superintendent was sitting in one compound, probably has a cook, driver, everybody on the payroll. When he retired or he resigned or he replaced from one government to another government, those who name on the payroll, they're no longer around. That's how the huge number accumulated on the payroll for Ministry of Internal Affairs. So it is in the interest as well that today the payroll will be clean, will be clear of these unwanted names, people that don't work anymore but still receive salary. I think it will give them a chance to work with the Ministry of Finance to bring on board people who have qualified, who are willing to work, who can perform the tasks of those people that we're going to remove from the payroll.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Edward Kamban from ELBC. My question is short. Is there a timeline to the nationwide verification process? And my next question is just addition to what my colleague asked earlier when we talk about the physical verification of the payroll. Are you also taking into account people who may be on leave, like annual leave, sick, maternity? Do you also consider them if they are not around to be counted? Thank you.
Yeah, people that are on leave, they probably will just account for maybe 1% of the whole payroll. That is not a material, and in accounting say it doesn't have materiality, So yes, we also, as part of the exercise, we have foreign mission. We have our embassies across the war, the team will go and visit the embassy and also do physical count of the embassy employees to know whether the people we're paying abroad they actually exist. So it's not just going to be domestic, it's also going to be overseas. If we have 20 staff at the mission in Beijing, or Hong Kong, we have to go there, or our representatives have to go there and see whether the 20 staff are accounted for, because we're paying those 20 staff higher rate as compared to the people we're paying in Monrovia. So yes, we will. I mean, people that went for study leave, the records are there. Yeah. When you go in for study leave, your HR will take record of you. When you're supposed to come out, some people take study leave, they don't want to come out. So yeah, you take study leave, but you're supposed to come out after 3 months or after 4 months, and you stay 1 year there. Then they will investigate the circumstances. And even regular leave, your wahala finish. So everybody need to cooperate, because this is in the interest of the country.
My name is Rennie Goligi. I report for Prime. Why, in case the person happens to ask for excuse, like what you say on leave, maybe other medical leave to go and seek medication, and the period maybe overdue. What is the tax force measure in terms of finding a remedy to the situation, in terms of continuously paying, or rather than
those kind of cases? If you have 1,000 employees, maybe you just have questions with that kind of problem.
So what's the remedy?
So yes, there will be.
The CSA get a policy. Yeah. They get a policy. Obviously, every government employee falls under the CSA. The CSA get a policy. How long you can be off for medical leave?
Right.
How long you can be off for study leave? As the chairman readily said, Easton said, where we win the country, we keep as somebody on study leave. How long? You be study leave for 10 years? How can you be on study leave for 10 years and he taking pay? So we see that for common. But there's policy on the books with the CSA as to how long you can be off for study leave, sick leave, everything. So that's why before we come out with a report, we take into consideration all the necessary rules and regulations on the books.
Finally, has any...
you engage with the agencies. So you go in the agency, you ask for people, and they might tell you that somebody is off on study leave. So you want to know one person, how long they've been there, when they're due back. We're reasonable with that. And a lot of that too is processed with the CSA. So we can verify that to say, when somebody left, when they're supposed to come back down. But those are not significant, part of the problem, because, just 1 or 2 persons here and there.